Hey, I'm ready just as well, man. Okay, good evening, everybody. It's the first of January 2021 here, and it's Arknolia and the Doctor, ladies and gentlemen. Here, me, Dr. Earl W. Brown, and Arknolia Stroke Bean. And as mentioned, this is our first program, the first live stream from this community in 2021 here. And I guess tonight, Arknoia's got some top 10 lists from Buck Owens, Ricky Nelson, and I think, who was the other one again? Dang gummit.
Chuck Berry
Chuck Berry, yes, the father
and
of
Buddy
rock and roll.
Holly.
Buddy Holly, there we go. You know, now we talked, well, I know I mentioned about it getting a top 10 list of my own, but the thing is, and it was as we were discussing before we went live, I'm more of an album type of guy than a song guy, because when I listen to a group, I listen to the whole album to see how it's worth, and I was going to come up with stuff by top 10 albums or top 5 from Pink Floyd, Black Sabbath, but we decided to hold off on that for the time being there. You know, because, sorry about that.
We're just kind
Because,
of trying to keep it into a continuity
yeah,
and not jump around a lot.
yeah. Which is sometimes often happens on this channel a lot of times, whether we do streams and live shows here. So, okay, I'll hand it over to Arknoia with his top 10 list of songs by Buddy
I
Holly.
guess I guess we'll start with Buddy Holly. Yeah, that's a
That's
good one.
right. Good.
And actually,
Texas.
I have a top 13 for
Lubbock.
him.
Yep. Oh yeah, Lubbock, Texas. Favorite. The favorite of Lubbock, Texas, I should say.
Yeah,
Yeah, because he was one of the first big Texas-based acts out there to make it into the world of rock and roll. Others would follow, including the Sir Douglas Quintet. There will also be Blood Rock, who I remember you told me about. I've only heard the
right.
name until I listened to that song you told me about. It's like, wow, that is a trip, man. It is one trip of a song, man. I will say, man.
Oh yeah, and then you've got Mouse in the Traps,
Yep.
13th floor elevator.
Yeah, I heard about that. Go Rory Erickson was the lead
Yep.
guitarist for that group, and I
Yeah.
understand this guy had some mental issues. Well, I understand there.
The singer did for sure. I forgot his name, but
I remember it was a Rory Erickson.
well, that was a guitar player,
Yeah, it
Roy
was.
Erickson.
Yeah, he one time. I remember one time he said he was an alien from Mars in one interview,
Yeah.
such and such. There,
Oh
I'm
yeah.
thinking that was basically must have been him. I'm thinking of.
Could be. I thought it was the lead singer, but it might have been Erickson.
Yeah.
Um, and then you also have ZZ Top.
Oh yeah, the little old band from Texas, and later on we had, of course, Pantera, Hellstar, the metal scene from over there, from both Dallas and Houston as well. And
Yeah, there's all sorts of Texas bands floating around out there.
yeah, mostly the bands out there fun nowadays are mostly tribute groups.
Yeah, yeah,
But which is kind of the only one I saw originally so far were either cover bands and or tribute bands. The one group that I saw that was basically original was, of course, Hellstar, featuring, of
right.
course, James Rivera, the front man from who is in his 60s now, who I got a picture with which is both on Twitter and on Facebook. At that night when I met him, he was doing a Scorpions tribute with this project called James Revere's Metal Asylum.
Yeah.
And so, okay, so once again, Buddy Holly, one of the first major acts from the great state of Texas to make it into the rock and roll.
Okay, at number 13, I've got Maybe Baby,
Hmm.
which is a pretty decent little. Well, it wouldn't be on my list if it wasn't a pretty decent little song. So that's kind of redundant. Uh, Number 12, I've got Not Fade Away, which the Stones covered.
Yep, absolutely.
Number 11, I got Oh Boy. Number 10, I've got It Doesn't Matter Anymore. Number 9, I got It's So Easy. That was covered by Linda Ronstadt.
Yeah, that's right.
A lot of these songs he they were covered.
A lot of these songs. That's true there.
Number 8, I got Peggy Sue.
Oh yeah.
Number
Which by the way was written about the girlfriend of one of his band members, the
yeah,
Crickets.
yeah. Number 7, I've got That'll Be the Day. That was covered by lots of people.
A
I
lot
know
of
Fog,
people. Yes, I
I know
remember.
Foghat
Yes,
did it.
that's right.
Uh, I can't remember some of the others, but there were a lot of people that covered that song.
Absolutely, there. A lot of. I
Number
think. No, go ahead.
No, I was going to move on, but let's talk about that in a little more.
All right, the song "That'll Be the Day." That I've heard. I remember hearing the original a few times in the past there. And then I think that there was who has it covered it? Who's covered it a couple of times there? I was wondering there
Well, I know a Foghat.
on
Uh,
Foghat. Let me look. Let me look at
wouldn't hurt to look that up because there's a bunch of them. I can't recall any of the others off the top of my head, but there a lot of people did that song and put them on albums.
Okay, yes. Okay, the cover versions here. Let's see here who has done their versions of this song here. Probably the. Let's see here. Um, let's see. It was versions like Jeff Allen Orchestra, conducted by Barney Kessel, a band called the Ravens, the Tunettes, Larry Page with Tony Osborne and his orchestra, Little Richard and the Drifters, Pat Boone did his version, Bobby V. Um, let's see, Tommy Rowe, the Esquires, the Everly Brothers, the Statler Brothers, the Exchequers, the Bobby Goldberg Blues Band, the Ryans, Skeeter Davis, also let's see, Kenny Vernon, the Bunch, Adrian Smith, and Foghat, as you mentioned, the Rockin' Devils, Linda Ronstadt, the Flaming Groovies, Mike Berry, Pure Prairie League, which Vince Gill was a member of, believe it or
Oh,
not.
I forgot about them. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right. I remember that.
the Hollies, the Shanes, um, Lynn Anderson, Big Daddy, Sherry Holly, Bo Gumbos, the Quarrymen, and Hank Marvin, Connie Francis. Um, let's see, just a group called Brothers, Danny O'Donnell, the Crickets and Rodney Crowell, the Crickets with Albert Lee and Brian May of Queen, Boys Not Out, Pat Denizzo from the band the Smithereens there,
Mm.
Modest Mouse, Ed Payne, Ricky Norton and the Holly Brothers. Gosh, that was only a few of those guys that
Yeah,
covered that
I was
song.
going to say that song's been covered a lot.
I know, probably is the most covered song when you think about it there. Usually a lot of artists in that spectrum usually have that one song that gets covered multiple times more than the others.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Beatles and Yesterday and Michelle.
Yep, precisely. Or the Rolling Stones with Satisfaction.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Number 6, I got True Love Ways, which was covered by Peter and Gordon. There
Yep.
might have been others, but.
Hmm.
And then number 5, I've got Love's Made a Fool of You, which the one cover I can think of off the top of my head is Bobby Fuller 4.
Yeah. The same group that did I Fought the Law in the Long Run.
Yeah. And when we get to them, we're going to discuss them pretty much in depth because of
The death
the
of
situ.
Bobby Fuller. Yeah, I
Yeah,
heard
that's
about that, man.
read up on it because it's interesting.
Very interesting story there, indeed.
Okay, number 4, I got a song called Well All Right, which was covered by Blind Faith,
All right. That's right there.
which featured a guitarist by the name of
Eric Clapton. Yeah. Steve Winwood, Jim Capaldi of Traffic, Steve Winwood's group, and I guess Jim Gordon from Derek and the Dynamos.
Yeah. Basically, Blind Faith was Cream without Jack Bruce.
Yeah, correct. With a couple extra members in his place there.
Yeah, isn't it interesting? It took 2 people to replace Jack Bruce.
Yeah, I know. They did. Well, they did. Fleetwood Mac did the same thing twice with Lindsey Buckingham.
Yeah, that's true. And Fleetwood Mac's going to be a real discussion when we get there.
Oh, absolutely. We got to talk. We got one of these days. You should probably do an all-out special on Fleetwood Mac.
Oh, that's going to take some time
Oh yeah,
because there's basically what, 4 versions of Fleetwood Mac.
a lot of versions. There's a couple of live versions out there that wasn't really official, but still,
Yeah.
still we gotta acknowledge all the lineups that group has been through.
Yeah.
But then again, it's going to be a hell of a time when we covered King Crimson because of the multiple lineups in that
Oh
group.
my gosh.
I know.
Yeah. And the interesting phases they went through.
Absolutely. That's going to be a trip and a half.
Yeah. Number 3, I got Words of Love, which was covered by lots of people, most famously the Beatles.
Yep. That is true. And let's not forget, Paul McCartney apparently owns the publishing rights to Buddy Holly's music, from what I understand. We talked about that a couple times.
Yeah. Yeah. Number 2, I got Every Day. And again, these are opinions. I mean,
And Every Day, is that the same one that James Taylor covered the years later?
I'm not real sure. But the Buddy Holly version was Every Day. Seemed a little shorter or something like that. I don't recall.
Let me look it up here.
I don't know if that's the same version or not because I don't remember the Taylor version.
Okay, let me look up here again there. Let's see. There was a Arel version there, cover versions here. Fiona Apple did her version up here. It was let's see here. The song is ranked number 238 on Rolling Stone magazine's list of the 500 greatest songs of all time.
Wow.
Yep. The cover versions is done by Tina Robin, Bobby V, John Denver, Don McLean, Nikki Richards, a teen pop singer from the UK, and a version, I was released. Yep, I was right. James Taylor did his version. That was back in 1985. It rise up to number 3 on the Billboard Adult Contemporary charts in the U.S.
Oh. Huh. Okay.
And also,
my number 1.
Also, wait a minute. Erasure. The pop group from England featuring that one-time Depeche Mode member Vince Gill. They recorded their version for an album called Other People's Songs.
Yeah. Well, suffice to say, a lot about it, Buddy Holly gets covered. My number 1 is kind of an interesting song. I think it was among his last ones. It may have been his last one.
Yeah.
Raining in My Heart. For some reason, that song really appeals to me. I don't know why.
Probably because of the content. The sun is shining, but it's raining in my heart because of this romance going down the tube.
Yeah, the sky is blue, the sun is bright.
That is true, yeah.
And all that good stuff, but it's raining in his heart.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just like that song. I don't know why. There's just something about it that appeals to me. I don't quite know why.
Oh, glad to see. I think Joe Cronin is supposedly in my chat. If it's you, Joe, feel free to call in the show if you like, dude.
Yeah, you're more than welcome. Although this is well before you were born. In fact, it's before the doctor was born.
Way before, yeah. Remember, I was born in '66, man. And Arky here is way older than I am when it come to think of it.
Well, yeah, and this stuff was around when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Next guy I've got on my list is Ricky Nelson.
Oh, yeah.
That guy actually had some pretty interesting stuff.
And now Ricky Nelson, as we know, is kind of like when it looks and it's kind of an icon when it comes to music and television. Remember, he was a part of that TV show. What was it? The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet.
Father Knows Best. That's right.
Yeah, it was the whole Nelson family: Ozzie Nelson, Harriet Nelson.
Yeah, it's Ozzie and Harriet. That's right.
That's right. He also performed some songs while on that show just as well there. Of course, later on, he would develop it to a full-time act, have a hit with a song called Garden Party, I guess it was in early 70s. And we cannot forget his daughter Tracy, starring in that CBS sitcom Square Pegs, which featured a very young Sarah Jessica Parker.
Didn't he have a pair of twins too?
Yes, yes, the Nelson twins.
That's what I thought.
Yes,
In
right.
fact,
They
they
were,
were musical.
yeah, Gunner and what is it? The Nelson twins. Let me look. Gunner was the first one, and
Yeah, I think they performed together, didn't they?
yes, they did a lot of times. The Nelson twins. They were just known as Nelson. You know, it was Matthew and Gunnar Nelson. They were twin brothers. You know, they released an album, I guess, in 1990. I guess it was after the fire became a big hit there. No, it was. I think it was in a lot more. Let's. See, I think it was earlier than that. Let's see here. Let me
Yeah,
look up here. It was from 1989. Their band they achieved success with a double platinum album titled After the Rain, which featured the song Can't We Live Without Your Love and Affection. After the success of that album, the band claims to have been faced with conflicts with their record label, lack of support from the media, and the shift in music towards alternative and grunge rock. They split with Geffen Records in '95, and the band has continued to produce and release records independently on their own label, Stone Canyon Records.
yeah. And Ricky Nelson, didn't he pass in an airplane crash too?
Yes, a member, yes. Yeah, it was, I guess it was around what year it was. I think it was in the 1990, I believe it was.
Yeah.
Let me look that up here. Because I remember,
Boy, it's amazing. You could almost look up plane crashes that took rock stars and have
I
a
know,
huge list.
I know. Yeah, I know, man. It was like a son of a, that was something, man. This
Well,
probably
off
one
the
of the
top of my head, I can think of Buddy Holly, Big Bopper, Ricky Nelson,
members of Leonard
Otis
Skinner.
Redding.
Leonard
Yeah,
Skinner.
Otis Redding. Uh,
He was a film actor. Oh, by the way, Ricky Nelson was also a film actor as well. He appeared in some
yes, he
movies.
was.
Yeah, Here Come the Nelsons, The Story of Three Loves, and also Howard. He was some guy named Howard Hanks cast him as a gunslinger in the movie Rio Bravo with John Wayne and Dean Martin. He
Yeah,
also
which was actually a fairly big movie.
yeah, which he also co-starred in a movie called The Wackiest Ship in the Army from 1960 with Jack Lemmon.
Yeah, yeah. Guy showed up in a lot of movies.
He also played Jesse James, the outlaw, in the movie Hondo, and had a support role
Yeah,
in the Over the Hill Gang with Walter Brennan and Pat O'Brien.
yeah. Oh, Jim Croce,
Oh yeah, definitely got to include him because he was
Harry
one.
Chapin.
Oh yeah, was Patsy Cline,
Yeah, I mean,
Randy Rhoads,
airplanes.
Ozzy, the Quiet Riot, and Ozzy Osbourne guitars.
Yeah,
That's right.
I mean, unreal. And whatever plane crash the Bloodwalker was singing about,
I know.
I
Yeah, it was in
they weren't
1985,
famous, but
and I would never believed this. He was heading from Guntersville, Alabama to Dallas, Texas to do a concert on New Year's Eve, 1985. The plane was
wow.
his own, which had a history of mechanical problems. All the seven passengers, including, I guess, Blair, his wife, died. Only the two pilots who flew that plane survived.
Man. Yeah, one of these days maybe we got to talk about plane crashes and rock
Yeah,
stars.
absolutely. I'm all for that. And this is one of the reasons why, maybe it's best to do your traveling by tour bus or train now in these days.
Yeah, and I think the Holly crash, didn't Waylon Jennings, wasn't he supposed to take that trip
Yes, he
and
was. Yeah,
backed out?
back in the day, before the day the music died, and we all know what he had said as a joke. Apparently, he said, hope your bus breaks down. Well, I hope your plane crashes. Ha ha ha!" And he even admits to that day that he still regrets saying that remark.
Yeah, because you never know, I suppose.
Yeah. But then again, a lot of times you're not thinking about the future when you're so too busy trying to get to another city to do shows in.
No, that's true. Well, my number 10 for Ricky Nelson is Fools Rush In.
Nice.
My number 9 is I Can't Stop Loving You, which has been covered by a lot of people. Ray Charles comes to mind.
Oh, really? Nice.
That was a good song by him.
Yeah.
I'm looking for my. Oh, there it is. My number 8 is It's Up to You. My number 7 is Poor Little Girl. No, I'm sorry, Poor Little Fool. Can't read my own writing. And number 6, I've got It's Late. I'm hoping that people will go, oh, you know what? I think I need to hear these songs. Number 5 I got is a song called Honeycomb, which Jimmy Rogers covered, and I think there's been a couple other people have done it.
Ah.
Maybe Peter, Paul, and Mary. I'm not sure on that one. Number 4 I've got I'm Walking. Yes, indeed, and I'm Talking.
Oh yeah, that one. That one there. I remember hearing that a lot of times. I think
Yeah.
that's a didn't Fats Domino do that song as well?
Oh, likely. That was another song that was covered a little bit, but not as much as some of the others we've talked about.
Oh, I know the one that gets usually covered by on one that we know from Fats Domino most of the notoriety would have to be Blueberry Hill, because you remember
Oh, yeah.
Richie Cunningham with whatever he strike gold with on the date or something like that with this particular girl. He's saying I found my thrill.
Yeah.
He would say that
Number
a
3,
lot.
yeah. Number 3, I got Hello, Mary
Oh,
Lou,
I know the one that
which
gets
was
usually
covered
covered
by
by.
Simon and Garfunkel, I believe.
Hmm.
And I think Creedence covered it.
Ah,
Oh,
nice.
I know they did. Number 2, I got Traveling Man.
Oh yeah.
Made a lot of stops all over the world.
Oh yeah, man, that was a big hit of his. I remember that.
Yeah, can you guess my number 1?
Let me guess, Garden Party, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there any other Ricky Nelson song that would be number 1? No.
Nope, because that's one of his prime big hits, and that came out in
Yeah,
1973, if I'm correct.
I believe that's right, but it was among his last. It might have been his last. I don't know.
Because I
But
think
that is
is
a nice little song.
yeah, because I remember because that soon after that, I guess his popularity kind of dwindled down for a tough couple of years there.
Yeah, yeah. Next guy I've got is Chuck Berry, which you want to talk about people that get covered?
Oh yeah, a lot. Oh yeah, especially by the Stones, by the Beatles, you name it, by the Yardbirds, you name it, because those bands looked up to people like Chuck Berry as their idols. So
Yep.
it's no secret that John Lennon idolized Chuck Berry there, because remember,
Yeah.
because I mentioned this before. John Lennon and Yoko Ono were co-hosts for the Mike Douglas show for a week, I guess, and one of the people they invited on was activist Jerry. What was his name? What's his
Oh gosh.
Jerry Rubin? I think it is. He was an political activist,
Yeah.
and also Chuck Berry. They did some jamming together on Johnny Be
Yeah.
Good, which
Yeah.
was pretty good, except for Yoko shrilling her ugly voice, in the background there. Why I have no
Yeah, that was
clue.
somebody that should have never been recorded. But
I know,
yeah,
but
we'll get. When we
but that
talk about Lennon, we'll cover that.
yeah, we can say nowadays days you can edit her voice out at least.
Yeah. Okay. I got number 10 is Reeling and Rockin',
Which
which one group I know covered was Dave Clark 5.
and George Thorogood and the Destroyers they did their live version of that song. I remember hearing that on the radio back in '86.
Yeah. And then I got number 9, Rock and Roll Music, which was covered by the Beatles and the
Yep,
Beach Boys.
absolutely
Probably others, but those are the two big ones I can think of.
correct.
And then number 8, I got Sweet Little 16, which in a way the Beach Boys covered because it's an exact duplicate of Surfing USA.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, almost note for note. It's unreal. Number 7, I got Johnny Be Good,
Oh yeah,
which
which
is covered by.
everybody we all know like the back of our hand. And by the
And
way,
number
if you're going to do a cover of a Chuck Berry's tune, do it do it in your own style, but also keep it to the methods of the original. Because back in 87, for a movie of the same name about a kid who plays excellent football, I guess it starred Michael Anthony Hall. It was a movie called, of course, called Johnny Be Good. Judas Priest did their version, but however, it was just they tried to make it to a new version, and it just didn't fucking cut it, man. I'm sorry. I mean, Rob Halford and the boys, you need to just stick with your, do it something like the original, okay, guys? Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Now number 6 has a cover kind of similar to what you're just talking about,
Yes.
but it's one of those that's different, but it has the elements of the previous. That's Roll Over Beethoven. The most famous cover I know of is ELO.
Oh yeah. We all know that. Of course, the Beatles did their version as well. You gotta.
Yep, yep.
Yep.
But the ELO version kept elements of Roll
Yeah.
Over Beethoven, but they did it in their own style.
Yes, they began their version with the something like what was that sympathy? Which one of the sympathy?
Oh,
Do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do. And
Beethoven's Fifth.
yes, correct. One of the most
Beethoven's
infamous.
Fifth. Well, Roll Over Beethoven kind of fits.
Yeah,
So
exactly. So they mixed into to that. That's when they started it, and just did their own version. And wow, all I can say
yeah,
is wow. They really paid a
yeah,
good. Not only they did a cover a great song, they also paid homage to him as well.
absolutely. That's a great cover. I mean,
Absolutely,
it really
it
is.
is.
And ELO didn't do a lot of covers.
I know.
Number 5, I got a song by the name of Nadine. Honey, Is That You?
Hmm.
Uh, the group I know that did a cover of this song is somebody called the Southwest FOB. Good cover. And I'm going to guess that most people have not heard of Southwest FOB.
Oh, I don't think I have heard it myself there, but then again,
Well, look them up and look for a song called Nadine.
Nadine. I think. Let's see
And
here.
then look for something called Smell of Incense.
Smell of Incense by Chuck Berry.
No, I'm talking Southwest FOB.
Oh, South. Oh, that's a new one. Southwest
FOB.
FOB.
I believe they were a Texas group, but I could be wrong on that one.
Oh yeah, freight on board. And it
Right.
was a psychedelic. Yeah, they're from Dallas, Texas, a psychedelic rock group. Now best remembered for their because it featured Dan Seals and John Coley, who later found
Right.
success as the duo known as England Dan and
England, Dan
John
and John
for
Ford Coley.
Coley. It just took out the extra L in Coley's last name there.
Yeah, and if you get a chance, the 2 songs, like I mentioned, that you need to hear by them,
Hmm.
because there's definitely an element of psychedelia going through them, is Nadine, which is a great cover,
Uh huh.
and Smell of Incense, which actually that's a cover song of a group you've never heard of.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of the group's name off the top of my head. West Coast Pop Art Experimental Band,
Ah.
another psychedelic group.
Yeah. That's what FOB was, right?
Oh no, the West Coast Pop Art
Oh.
Experimental Band
Oh,
was another
that's right.
band.
Oh, I don't think I've
They
heard
were
of
from
that.
California.
Oh, okay.
Well, we'll talk about them when we get to psychedelia,
Okay.
because you're going to hear a lot of groups you never heard of.
I know.
Okay, number 4, I got No Particular Place to Go,
Good one there.
and I'm trying to think of who covered that. Well, I can't off the top of my head. Maybe Emmylou Harris, but could be wrong on that. Number 3, real famous cover, Maybelline,
Oh, yeah. That was the
Johnny
first.
Rivers.
Yeah, he did that song. A great song for anybody out there who gets frustrated while driving.
Yeah, and actually, the Amboy Dukes covered that song.
Oh, yeah. Ted Nugent's old band.
Yeah, And I'm trying to think, there was another one that I wanted to mention. Maybe Foghat. I'm not sure on that one. That song's well covered too.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, I've got another Johnny Rivers covered song, Memphis.
Oh yeah, that's annoying. I believe Chuck Berry was from Memphis, from what I understand.
I believe so.
Because a lot of rock, a lot. Keep in mind, Memphis is considered Music City because of the Grand Ole Opry and also the pioneering rock stars who came from that area.
Yeah, and actually, the band I was in covered Memphis.
Nice.
And number 1 I got is a song called You Never Can Tell, which Emmylou Harris covered that one for sure. There's one about it was a teenage wedding and the old folks wished them well. Great song.
Don't mind me. I'm replying. I'm in my chat replying to Jeebus the God. He's in my
Yeah, I
chat
see
right.
that.
Yeah, he's asking if we do every Tubber Talk 80s and 90s. Well, I'll just say we'll get to that. Terrible. I'll just say it right now, Jeebus. We will get to that pretty soon. In our series, we just still got to go through a lot of
This is
acts there.
consider this a journey through time,
Yeah,
which essentially is what it is.
yeah,
And hopefully I live that long.
and basically it's a YouTube streaming series there, documentary.
Yeah, we're trying to do it as often as we can, but it kind of depends on our schedules getting together, things of that nature. Okay, and the last one I got well, as far as top tens for today is
Yep.
Buck Owens.
Oh
Because we
yeah.
got to give some homage to country music. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe we don't like it as much as rock and roll, but yeah, it's got its place.
Well, keep in mind there are some rock acts out there who do form from country areas, like not just Leonard Skinner, Pirates of the Mississippi, the Kentucky Headhunters, and a couple
Oh,
others
yeah.
there. Travis Tritt, he was considered one as well. He liked to mix in a little bit of rock and roll into his country music there.
Yeah, yeah. Number 10, I got a song that's called Rolling in My Sweet Baby's Arms, which has been covered by a few people. Leon Russell's one I can think of.
Oh yeah.
And number 9, I got Waiting in Your Welfare Line.
That's and go ahead.
No, Number 8, I got Love's Gonna Live Here Again.
Sounds like a good title there. It sounds like
Yeah,
it'd be a good title for one of those, chick flicks. Like a
yeah,
woman,
he actually had some pretty good titles for his songs.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, tell Jeebus that the reason we're going over this is so you can
Yeah,
find
well,
out what's worth listening to.
yeah, this is like educational to all the people out there today of what artists came before the artists we know of today. Like for instance, we all hear it a lot of times about bands like Avenged Sevenfold. A lot of people dig the guitar harmonics on some of their songs, but keep in mind, some of they got those that got that from bands like Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, and Thin Lizzy before them. So,
Yeah, a lot of music is a lot of music in nature is derivative. So you got to kind of know the old stuff to know where the new stuff came from for the most part,
yeah,
because it's not like anybody's reinventing the wheel.
correct.
It's they're just kind of improving on it or doing their take on it or something
Adding
of
a
that
little
nature.
bit bits to it. Either
Right.
way.
Number 7, I got Close Up the Honky Tonks.
Mm.
Number 6, I got Crying Time, which is been covered by Ray Charles.
Ah, nice.
Number 5, I've got My Heart Skips a Beat.
I've heard that title before a couple of times. Yeah.
Number 4, I got Under Your Spell Again, which has been covered by a few people.
Mm.
Number 3, I got Together Again, which has been covered by a few people. Number 2, I got a song that was covered by a group that you probably heard of. The song is Act Naturally, covered
Oh
by the
yeah, the
Beatles.
Beatles. That's yeah. I'm thinking about that. Right. You should probably check out the original sometime soon. There.
Yeah, it's remarkably similar. I
Exactly.
mean,
Oh, yeah.
it's it's unreal. And then number one, I've got a song called Tiger by the Tail, which was probably his biggest song.
Mm. And a good title there.
Yeah, it's actually kind of a neat little song. Like I said, it's interesting because a lot of people say, "Oh, I don't like country." Well, country blend. There was a lot of crossover in the 50s and 60s and 70s between country and rock.
Yeah.
Mostly country coming to rock. Not a lot of rock artists went into country. It happened, but not a lot.
Yeah.
And you still get some
You know
of it
what?
nowadays, but not like it
This kind of
was.
reminds me of a song by the Charlie Daniels Band. And no, it wasn't. Now, you me- there was an album they put out called Million Mile Reflections, brought back from
Oh yeah, that was a good album.
1979. And of course, that was the one that featured Devil Went Down to Georgia. That was played a lot on the regular rock stations at that time, along with another song before that called Passin' Lane.
Yeah, and that album also wasn't that the album with reflections on it, where we were singing about the people that had passed.
Yes, I believe so. I remember seeing, and there was a public television, a concert that was showing featured them, and they were showing the photographs of Marilyn Monroe and a couple other celebrities that passed away, like John Wayne, while they were doing that song.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that song's about basically Janis Joplin, and of course Leonard Skinner and
Yep.
Elvis.
Yes.
That's mainly what the song's about.
Yeah.
But it's a good little song, actually.
It is. Yeah, I remember that. Of course, we all know this. I already mentioned before. I'm gonna talk about that, which I understand. Or didn't some other violinists, invited some artists like Johnny Cash and a couple others to do a sequel to that song?
That's probably possible, but I don't know about it. But like I said, that's a good little song.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to listen to though, because it'll tug at you. But it's worth listening to. It's worth your time. Trust
Hmm.
me on that one.
Hmm. Let's see it over
Who is
there.
Nikki P talking about?
I see there. Let me see. Let me see here. There was a Devil Comes Back to Georgia, featuring let's see here, Marco Tool, who it is. Let me see here. Um, well, Mark O'Connor featuring Charlie Daniels, Travis Tritt, and Marty Stewart and Johnny Cash.
Wow.
And that came out. Let's see. I think it was. Let's see. And it was. Let's see here. Son of a name goes. I forgot what year it came out there, but that's not really interesting. Sometime definitely would check that out sometime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, see, that's the other thing of it, that when you and I talk,
Yeah.
that I'm trying to do is give people some stuff to kind of to so they don't have to drag through a bunch of stuff. They can kind of pick and choose some of these little songs here and there. And this is for you too, because I know you haven't heard a lot of these.
I know exactly. I know.
And it gives you a chance to go, let me go listen to that because it might be decent. And again, this isn't going to have the production values. It isn't going to be like anything that's made current,
In
but
Tay,
it's got its place, and in its day, it was very good.
yeah, and that's I
And
remember. I can remember that they had to work with the technology they had at that point there.
right, and like I said, all music is derivative in nature. There's nothing that's totally original, and
Nope.
basically music derives from something, and this basically is the flow, and that's what we're trying to cover in this
That's
series
true. That is true about what
is
you
the
just
flow.
said there. Because early at work, I was out there about their working on stacking cheese. Different selections of cheese there. I heard this
Oh yeah.
song and I don't know who did it or the title of it, but there was a one of the jingles in that song was like ba ba bum ba ba bum bum. I think it may have been a Christmas tune or not. I'm not too sure, but it would sound the exact same as the Poison song. Ain't nothing but a good time. The exact same style there, but with different lyrics.
Huh. Let me.
I
Well,
forget. Like I said,
I
I
could
don't.
probably figure it out, but I can't think of what it is right now.
Neither like can I. I can remember. I can't. And remember, this is a satellite radio, so we can't really go back there or ask the DJ.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah, it's funny because you mentioned that I was in a Kroger's once shopping, and I was in the detergent section, and I happened to be looking at a certain product when this song came on the radio, uh, Shout, and
oh
I happened to be looking at the product and going, "Oh, that's uncanny. How'd they know?"
it was a product shout.
Right.
Oh
I'm
my
looking at that
gosh.
product, just looking at it, and that song starts up, and I'm going like, "What? How did they know?"
I don't know, one of those things that happen. Talk about synchronicity when you think about it there.
Yeah, that was just unreal.
And
Um,
that must have been years back because I don't know if
oh,
Shout
it
make.
was. It was at least 10 years ago.
Oh wow, because I don't know if there is a Shout detergent nowadays.
I honestly don't know. I don't know. And I
I
think
don't
it was
know
a
either.
fabric softener. I don't
Oh
think
okay.
it was a detergent.
Because
But
nowadays I don't really see. All I see is Febreze and the Woolite and everything else.
well, the next time we do a show, which right now is depending on the doc's schedule.
Yeah, because of my work schedule, I've been working a lot of hours, like here, crazy here and there, Like for instance, this past, I believe I was supposed to have a day off this past Thursday, but sadly they had to cancel that. They had me come in at 7 in the morning, to take care of some shit there. So God knows what could happen there. I'm just hoping that possibly I will probably have this coming Tuesday off so me and Arky here can continue our stream of series here that we got.
And what we're trying to do is catch up because we've already covered some of the stuff we're talking about, but we're trying to catch up to give you a little more detail, I guess. Top 10 lists, which largely is going to be me for some of this stuff, but we'll get into some of the other stuff that the doc will put his list together on.
Yeah, I know.
And the next bunch that I want to do just to catch up again is Peter Paul and Mary top 10, Johnny Cash top 10.
Mm.
Those will both be interesting. I'm looking at my list now because I've made up about 8. Do a top 15 on the animals.
Oh yeah, because I got to give it up to the animals. They were like considered, one of the big pioneers, and not just House of the Rising Sun or they did some other tunes. I think they did Boom Boom Boom. I guess it was
Outgo, not
covers.
Outgo Lights. That's Pat Travers. They just did Boom Boom.
No, that's Out Go the Lights. We're talking about a
Right,
different
that's Pat
version.
Travers. Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I was just saying.
yeah.
And then let's see.
Hmm.
Interesting. A
Yeah.
top 15 on the Herman's Hermits
Mm-hmm.
and a top 15 on the Hollies.
Graham Nash's old group.
Yeah. And there'll be other people though, that we kind of went that we want to do too, kind of a cover on them just so people know a little more about them.
Yep.
I'm thinking the old Manfred Mann group before Earth Band
Yep.
and Tom Jones
Oh yeah. One
and
of the
maybe
top.
the
Yeah, it's still out there performing. If I understand there.
yeah, and he's one of those. Oh, what do they call them? uh, guys you don't like to say you like, but I like Tom Jones.
Yeah, but then again, you got to give it up to the guy. I mean, he keeps himself relevant when you look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
And then I've got a top 15 for the Dave Clark Five because they had a lot of songs, and a top 15 of Donovan.
oh
No,
yeah,
Donovan's just a top 10
uh,
for me. I mean,
all right.
and then
I'm looking at Google images of Tracy Nelson, the lady I mentioned earlier from the show Square Pegs that I mentioned. You do
right.
not know how much of a crush I had on this gal back then when that show was airing.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And she was, I guess, she played some sort of what they call the Valley Girl persona, I guess.
yeah.
And she
Hey,
still looks,
Jeebus is educating its on shouting. Yeah, that's what I remember it was.
yeah.
It's got a spot remover. Yeah.
Hey, Jeebus, you want me to add you to the call, dude? So let me know in the chat if you want to or not. I'll just wait and see what goes around. It's
Of
still, oh,
course, we're talking about stuff that he just told us he knows nothing about. But
well,
hey,
dude, I
that's
will.
fine.
Let's welcome in. Well, I say we'll welcome in so we can educate the dude.
Yeah, and like I said, if you haven't heard the stuff, it's worth a listen. If nothing else, history.
Absolutely agree. Expand your minds, ladies and gentlemen. Expand your ventures when it comes to whether it's television, movies, or music.
Yeah, in other words, just don't keep yourself in this little niche of this is what I like. Find out other things.
Yeah,
I'm going to tell you
exactly.
from
For instance,
experience.
if you're a sci-fi freak, it's definitely about. Also, we highly suggest you look for the movie Forbidden Planet from
Yeah,
1959 because,
absolutely.
yeah, this is what because back then it was the sci-fi stuff they had back then was kind of interesting just as well. For instance, right now on YouTube they have the thing the Corel Dwell machines ambient noise for about over 3 hours or 5 hours there. And believe it or not, Robbie the robot, who was the robot in that movie, they made a walkable, talkable toy of that at one of the WalMarts here.
Yeah, and isn't he kind of in Lost in Space too?
I believe well something like that. I think it would
Yeah,
look
where
a little
he's
bit
similar.
similar, but a little bit more different. I think in Forbidden Planet, the glass thing that's on its head is a little bit more smaller, whereas the one in Lost in Space it was totally different there.
Yeah,
Didn't really
because
have
I
a
know that they were similar because they still had the walking, not walking feet. That sort of thing where they just kind of crawled along.
yeah, but I think the
But
robot in Lost in Space just got around on rollers.
yeah, but again, you mentioned this. I am a huge fan of movies from the 50s and 60s, sci-fi,
Hmm.
well, and to some degree horror too. There's just something about those movies that's got a real appeal to
You know
me.
what? You know what? It's really me. You know what? When Star Wars first came out, the original one, before it became Episode 4 later on, almost every movie studio, every television series, everything was going sci-fi. I mean, I cannot
Yeah,
name how many cheesy, ver, cheesy sci-fi movies that came out. I mean, some were good, some were cheesy. There was one I remember seeing called Laser Blast, which was from 1978. They used the claymation for the aliens that we spoke about in our movie Madness series there. But
right. When we're talking to Harryhausen,
yes, and
Firehouse.
I remember that movie pretty particular. In fact, there was that was one of the big things back then was the claymation stuff there.
Yeah, I
And
mean the guy was a pioneer.
absolutely. And now, but one of the cheesiest movies I ever saw was a movie called Battle Beyond the Stars. It started Richard Thomas from the Waltons fame. Remember John Boy Walton? That was
Right.
him.
I remember that movie.
Yes, I remember. And John Saxon, who next to Vincent D'Onofrio was one of the great character actors.
Yeah, he was always a bad guy, it seemed like.
Yeah, he was a vampire in the Starsky and Hutch TV series back in the day. He also was featured as a sheriff in the Nightmare on Elm Street film series and a few movies there.
Yeah.
And
Just
also,
he had that look.
hmm
A good character actor has a look,
hmm
and he was blessed with that kind of look.
he was, I wonder, deep down inside, he probably got tons of poon, even though it was that much of a household name at that time.
Yeah.
But the movie itself, I guess. Let me see here. It also starred, I guess, was George Kennedy, I believe it was. What the hell?
That was
Don't.
another character actor.
Oh my gosh. There's not enough discs. We just. Let's see.
I
Well, it
know.
says, well, it says here we're still streaming, but we stopped recording.
Uh, I I think my end is probably still recording, but we can always. I don't know if it's still going or what's going on.
I don't know.
But
It's just what it says, and I know I'm still streaming.
oh, okay. Well,
Son
you
of a.
didn't lose it then, because I don't know how all that works, but I don't think you lost it completely.
All right. So,
But
but
and
still,
if you did, we can pick it up from mine, I suppose.
yes, and plus, plus all the streams that are recorded here are going to my video files here. So one of these
Right.
days, I'm gonna have to remove some stuff here that I've had saved on my video files, and probably some stuff in my downloads section. That's probably one of the reasons why that this
Yeah, either
happens. This
that or
has
get
happened.
yourself one of those disposable hard drives and move some of the stuff.
I'm
Or
thinking
not
as well,
disposable hard drives, but
bigger hard drives, like a CD or something like
external.
that. External, yeah. And how much do those cost, by the way?
Depends on what size you get. I've got about three of them.
All right, so because I'm
Uh,
thinking about possibly doing that and do they come in the CD form?
uh, no, they plug into the USB on your front
All right,
or on your back or whatever.
okay,
And like I said, well, actually, I have two of them because one of them just expired on me.
all right,
And you can also use thumb drives. Those things are 4 gig.
all right. That's right. And do they cost a lot?
Yeah, I just bought a box of 10 from Amazon for like $20
Oh, wow, that sounds cool.
or
There.
$25 or something like that. And they're handy because they're small and they can fit and play. You can store them easily.
All right, all
But
right. So I have to wait and see how it goes when we end this broadcast here, if it's all going to be saved or not. It says we started 52 minutes ago, so we got about a few minutes before we find out what's going
yeah,
on here.
and again on the science fiction movies, it's kind of a cult following of sorts to follow the really old ones because a lot of them are the special effects are cheesy, the movies are cheesy. I mean, they're not to the level of Plan 9 from Outer Space,
No.
but they're still got their. I mean,
Cheesiness. They're
yeah,
dim-wittedness because the spaceship in Battle Beyond the Stars, it. Oh gosh, it looked like a robotic moose head with two boobs at front.
oh man, well at least it's better than the pie plates stuck together on Plan 9.
Oh gosh, and the strings that carried them.
Right. I mean, you can run the cycle from Plan 9 up to Star Wars, and you've got them all in between there
Yeah.
somewhere.
And also
And there are a ton of them.
we also got to give an acknowledgement to the original Flash Gordon TV series.
Yeah.
Me and my dad used to almost every late night Saturday night around, I think it was about 10:30 or 11 p.m. I believe it was 11 p.m. Eastern time back in Michigan. We would stay up, watch Flash Gordon, a couple of episodes, whether it's a two or three, whichever there. And
Yeah.
I was very fascinated. I was very, very, very fascinated with that because at the time I was big on sci-fi. I wanted to see. I saw Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Right.
You also
That was a
made.
good movie.
Yeah, it was damn right it was. Fuck yeah. And plus, you remember the show Project UFO that Jack Webb came up with around that time?
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, there was In Search of, which had various episodes about
Oh yeah,
things of
that
that
was
nature.
original. My favorites was with I know they revamped that show back in the '80s, but with a different
Right.
host. The ones I enjoyed were the ones with Leonard Nimoy
Yep. Absolutely.
with the mustache.
Yeah. And then there was another show from the 50s that you probably have never seen or even heard of. It
Hmm.
was called One Step Beyond,
Oh
that went
gosh,
kind of into premonitions, things of that nature.
predictions.
It was science fiction, but it was about things that, people foresaw things that happened that didn't seem to have a purpose. It's an interesting show,
Yeah.
but that one's, I believe, from the 50s and 60s, but I'm not sure. I saw it mostly in reruns,
Wow.
but that was a good one. And then they had another one called Science Fiction Theater.
Mm-hmm. And of course we
Boris
can.
Karloff,
Yeah, that's
go
right.
ahead,
Boris Karloff.
Thriller.
Yes.
That ran for a couple of years, and that was a pretty good show too.
Nice.
I mean, we talked about The Outer Limits
Yeah, we
and
have.
The
Yes.
Twilight Zone, and those were both good. And Alfred Hitchcock had his, what, 10 season, 15 season
Of
thing of the Alfred.
Hitchcock presents.
Yeah, and those were good enough that they tried to remake them.
I know they have. They tried to do that. I guess a couple. I mean, the one that really got that we know got remade, nationwide was Gus Van Sant's version of Psycho with Vince Vaughn in the role of Norman Bates.
Yeah, yeah. And you mentioned Flash Gordon a while ago. Did you see the movie that they did?
Yes, which one?
Had
The
the
one
Queen movie
that Queen did the
with had the Queen
soundtrack
music?
for it.
Yeah,
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. And God knows that, no doubt about that. They were recording that soundtrack along the same time they were recording the game, the one with Another One Bites the Dust on it, and Crazy
right.
Little Thing Called Love, because there were a lot of the synthesizer moments on the game album as well. And then one of the videos for the song "Play the Game," the opening track, Freddie Mercury is wearing a Flash T-shirt with has the word Flash on it, representing the Flash
The
Gordon
movie.
movie.
Yeah, and Queen's going to get their own hour when we get that far,
Absolutely. No doubt
because there's a
about
lot
that.
to discuss there. Because they went through several phases too.
Absolutely there. Back then they didn't have they refused synthesizers, and when the 80s came around, they decided to have synthesizers on their albums.
Yeah, I mean, some groups go with the times. You almost got to.
You have to
I mean,
because
a good example of that is the Bee
yeah,
Gees.
yeah, as well as Kiss. They had to if they would continue with the makeup back in the 1980s, it would have became absolute jokes.
Yeah. So a pretty good band will change with the times, whatever the times might
Yeah,
dictate.
yeah, well, you also got to, but also have your own elements as well, so as you move forward as well. That's what makes a good band right there.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And and basically, one other thing I want to mention to anybody that's watching this later or whatever,
Hmm.
although who knows if this
Yes.
part's going to be in yours or not, is if you guys have suggestions for lists, let us know.
Yeah.
If you have your own list for who we've covered already, put it down there. I'd like to see what you guys say, because I might have missed the song. In fact, I'm pretty sure I probably did.
Or an artist, or a movie, or whichever, or
Yeah,
producer. Let us know, man. You could let us know in
absolutely.
each other's chats, whether it's Arknolia's or mine.
Yeah, and we do read our comments because YouTube sends us an email. or
Absolutely.
they do me
We
anyway.
all do that. Yes, they do that with me just as well.
Well, there's some folks that are probably getting lots of emails.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, but at any rate, I guess we've covered what we're going to cover today,
That's right.
and we need to figure out when the next time we can get together and do
Well,
our
like
next
I
list is going to
well,
be.
like I said, I'm thinking possibly I have this coming next Tuesday off next week, and so if that's still on, we could definitely do our the next program, episode 19, on that particular evening.
Yeah, and that one would be
Hmm.
again top tens, and I'll send you a list if you want by Skype,
Okay.
and that way, if you got time, you can make a list. If not,
Yeah.
at least you'll know who we're going to talk about.
Absolutely.
And I guess,
That'll be it for tonight.
yeah,
Yeah. So I guess that's the end of the show here for now, and according to Jeebus in my chat saying it's still around and works good, so we're still streaming live. Thank goodness. I just gotta.
well, actually, what he was talking about was the shout.
Hmm. Oh, okay. Okay, we'll have to. So I was still live here. So either way. So
Yeah, we'll just have to see what taped for you.
okay. Either way. So like I said, when I get done from here, I'm gonna look in both the video files and downloads and to see what I have to remove here to make room here, because I've had this problem before there.
Okay.
All right. So I guess that concludes it for tonight's episode of Music Memories, episode 18 with Arknolia and the Doctor. And
And hopefully we'll see y'all real soon.
all right there. Hopefully the next Tuesday we'll be able to do it again. All right. All right.
Sounds good to me.
All right there. You take care, Ark.
All right.
All right. Take care to everybody, and thanks everybody for watching this show. You have a good one. All right. That was a pretty good episode.